All right. All right. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Bison, aka Bison Trades, over on Twitter, and welcome back to another episode of RareFUD Radio. On today's episode, we have yet another awesome interview lined up for you guys. It is with Corrupt from Jacon Studios. If you guys don't know about Jacon Studios, they minted, I think, almost 9 months back or so. I think it was about midsummer, if I remember correctly. Um, and have since been building. They've been building out art rework. They've been keeping everything low key. They do have an SPL token called Troop. I'm excited to dive into everything Jacon with them. But first, we welcome up our wonderful co-host, Dorian. Dor, how we doing today, my man?
Yo, what's going on, dog? Every day's a holiday. Happy to be here with Jikan for the day, dog. Not gonna lie, I've heard about Jikan for a while now, but I have barely done any research on him. You know how the space, I should rephrase that. I barely did any research on him before this interview, huh? I don't want to come unprepared. So I'm super excited to have Corrupt on to talk about Jikan, man. What about you, dog?
I'm good, man. The market is alive after a scary little dump we had. What 3 days ago or so?
Yeah, dog.
We seem to be back on track. Solana is sitting about 23.85. Bitcoin hit 25K. Super pumped about that. Ethereum's on a nice little tear. I would imagine the Blur airdrop has something to do with that as well. A lot more liquidity in the ecosystem. So things are moving right along. Unfortunately, though, with a volatile SOL asset, usually means Solana NFTs are hitting the fan. It just always happens. I don't know what it is. And again, it's weird because over on Ethereum, doesn't matter the price movement. Those things are pumping right now. And again, probably goes back to the Blur airdrop. Very equivocal to what we saw in our NFT market when we got the Bonk airdrop, right? And so we could talk a little bit about what's going on over there versus what's going on in Solana. But for right now, let's jump into the market statistics. Last I checked, not looking so hot, right? It depends on
Nah,
what you're
dog.
looking at. If you're looking on Soul Sniper, we are sitting at about 6,000 buyers versus 12,000 sellers. Not a good ratio. 77,000 Solana volume according to Soul Sniper. But if you go over to TXO, it is a little bit more forgiving. 124K volume. So not terrible. You really want to see Soul Sniper. It feels like when you go above 100K Solana volume, you start creeping up towards 8K or even 10K plus buyers.
Mhm.
That's when we're really starting to see market movement. But until then, dude, I'm celebrating 10% gains. Like it's not a
Mhm.
fun environment to trade NFTs right now. A 10% gain versus the illiquidity that you have in NFTs,
Ain't
it's
worth
just
it.
honestly, it's not worth it right now. So it hasn't been very fun. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the nice thing is our picks are doing really well. I wish you had stuck with your Klaynos pick because
Dude, so I
those
knew
rip.
my ABC pick was risky, dog. But the thing is, I'm like, you know what? I don't know what's going to, like, I'd never doubted Klaynos. I was never fading Klaynos. But I'm like, HG is a wild card, so I feel a little risky this week. So it's more like I'm a gamble vice going with the safer bet, which would have been Klaynos, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you win some, you lose some, right? But again, Tile Infants made a nice push right at the end, right at the
Yeah,
death of it. So maybe you'll get the
there's
same
still
thing with
time, dog.
ABC. Can't fade those guys. Transdimensional Foxes that actually did pretty well. There's a nice little 10% pump on them post show. They're sitting at a little under 16 right now. So still above water, still in the green. That you love to see it. Summer Keys also doing fairly well. They did pump up to like 5.5, almost 6 the other day, and then
Yeah.
Solana pumped, and now they're back down to like
Yep.
4.75. So,
That's just it just sucks with like this wide range of volatility with Solana, man. Or at least it feels wide compared to a lot of the other times. Back when we were ranging between what 29 to 33, even then I don't feel that that range was as bad because it would be between like 30 to $31 for like a month at a time. And I think people were more comfortable trading in that environment, vice these huge relatively huge couple dollar swings. So yeah, man, like holding on to NFTs right now is not it unless it's something you have extremely high conviction in. But even then, it's like we're seeing pullbacks across all these collections. Like, might as well hold Soul, or if you're buying something, better immediately be taking out a loan on it.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another case in point is one, back when we were trading around that $30 range, a few dollars was only like 3-6%,
Yep.
right? Versus this, I mean, a
Yep.
move up from 20 to 23, almost 24 is like a 15 to
Yes, dog.
20% gain. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just a large volatility gap in these swings. And because of that, a lot of people, it's just not worth the stress to me of having to worry about. Really, you need to be looking at Bitcoin chart always whenever you're trading anything in crypto. Bitcoin is king. It will continue to be king for the foreseeable future, and everything is pretty much dictated on the pace and velocity of Bitcoin. So you have to check the Bitcoin chart, then you have to check and see what Solana's doing. Is it moving? Is it correlated? Is it moving in high correlation to Bitcoin in terms of velocity? So if Bitcoin's ripping, is it still playing catch up? Did it lead the market? And then you have to worry about, okay, well, if there's volatility coming up, should I be making these NFT trades? Then you have to look at the NFT charts themselves. It's exhausting. And so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
right now are just sidelined. It seems like it's not like liquidity completely left the system because a lot of people just want Solana exposure. So
Yep.
the nice thing is, hopefully we find our footing. Hopefully we find a place that people start feeling comfortable with risk on assets because it's already risky enough holding Solana, right? I mean, we've seen a large fluctuation. It's even more risky holding basically, an option on Solana, a derivative on
Yep.
Solana, and not derivative art. I'm talking like actual financial derivatives because that's essentially what it is. So we're gonna see what happens there. Nonetheless, there are some plays that have done really well lately. We talked about Subber, we talked about Klaynos, we talked about
Yep.
all this good stuff, and one of the plays that has done incredibly well is Jacon Studio. So it is nice to see Corrupt on here. We'll bring him up in just a few seconds. But just to show you the chart and see what kind of social sentiment we've had behind it, it's been pretty massive. And so looking at the chart, we did have a nice run up all of a sudden from, we hit a low of about 1.5, 1.6. And since then has been on a nice upward trajectory. I'm actually glad we're having them on right now because it's a
Yeah.
pretty good price to buy. If I'm sharing my screen right now, which I'll go ahead and do, we can go ahead and pull this up, and I'm going to show you that this is actually pretty decent time to buy. I mean, if I'm extending this chart out real quick, you can see it's a clear uptrend, right? And so any sort of cool downs have usually been met with nice pullbacks up to the trend. So I'm excited. I love when we have a guest on that it kind of lines up with what I would consider a highly probable good opportunity. But nonetheless, this is not financial advice. Nothing we say on here is we're just a bunch of bozos trading JPEGs. So without further ado, let's find out what it's all about. As a Jacon holder, I'm excited because I want Corrupt over here to pump my bags. That would be fantastic. But even if he doesn't, I'm excited for the future of Jacon. They've obviously proved that they've been around for a while, and Corrupt is no exception. He's very forward-facing, and I'm excited to have him on. So let's go ahead and bring him up. How you doing, Corrupt?
Indeed. Hello. How are you guys?
Well, doing fantastic, man. Doing fantastic. How about you?
I'm okay. I'm tired, but it's okay. We're here.
Yes. I think being tired is just part of being in Web3. Like, you're always tired, like nonstop.
No, I feel you, bro. I do feel you.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's also funny too because we get a lot of people from different time zones, and so I didn't know Corrupt was on PST. Obviously, a little bit different, and Corrupt was writing to his PC before the show. Corrupt just having technical difficulties, which I'm glad somebody else is filling the Joe void, because Joe right now is moving. In case you guys are wondering where Joe is, he has not left the show or anything like that. He'll be back. Joe, he takes his little breaks, but once he's back in to where he's moving, I'm not going to disclose his location, he will be back and ready and good to go. So until then, Corrupt, it's nice to see that somebody has taken the throne of technical difficulties, but we're glad you're here, and we're glad to talk about Jacon Studios. Now, let's jump right into it, though. Let's talk a little bit about you. Let's talk a bit about how you got into NFTs and what your role is with Jacon.
Yeah, we can do that. So for me, I don't know. I don't even know how long I've been in the space for. It feels like years.
I know, right?
Probably like, bro, it feels like forever. I'm gonna say my first mint on Solana was Meerkat Millionaires, or even potentially Infinity Labs, if you guys remember those like AI art.
Oh yes,
yeah,
dog.
you remember those? Yeah.
Oh yeah, Infinity Labs.
That was a good time. But yeah, that was my first mint. I think that's probably around when I got in the space. I was trading crypto for probably like, I don't know, 6 to 8 months before that. Like, I just been around. It feels like it's been, I don't even know how long it's been, but yeah. So Jacon, I guess, for me, it initially was just myself and one of my friends who is no longer on the team, but we just wanted to create a project. And the steam that came behind Jacon pre-mint was just like, I don't know if you guys remember the pre-mint hype, but it was definitely there. It was pretty fucking crazy. It wasn't really something we expected. So just kind of like filling into the role and just kind of learning as I've gone along, has been one of those experiences where on paper, like from someone who's just like buying NFTs, trading NFTs, and actually like directing the project as a whole, it's a totally different ball game. And I feel like I haven't had this conversation in like a while. Normally when I have like these types of calls, or I guess, I don't know, this is like usually a pre-mint AMA stuff. So I haven't said stuff like this in a while, but thinking about it, and just kind of like recollecting my thoughts on this entire like, oh, how'd you start in the space conversation? It really is like a totally different ball game when you actually like sit in the seat of like a consumer to like a creator to some extent. But yeah, it's been fun. That has been fun.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely is. And I know Door gets it as COO of Cyber Samurai over there. And then I've just recently, I've been with the Remnants team for a while now, but have taken more of a lead role with Heist coming up. So you're right. I mean, as somebody who is just now getting into more of like a project management and lead role, it is a totally different ball game, and trying to manage emotions, manage expectations from the consumer side, trying to align visions between everybody, align incentives. It's a lot to take in, man. And so one, props to you for still sticking around. I mean, it is no like short of a feat, because looking at you guys have been minted since a late May, if I remember correctly, early June. Yeah. So you guys have stuck around. You guys, at first it was kind of a rocky slope, just because you were coming in like right around the end of the bull run, and we were all on a decline like across the board. But you guys stuck around, and you guys have had a nice upswing, especially lately. One of my favorite people in crypto, DS, is big on Jacon, and I love to talk Jacon Studio. So talk me through Mint Day and talk to me about how we got to where we are now.
Yeah, no, yo, Mint was a mess. Mint was actually such a mess. We bounced around launch pads a lot. Like I don't know what the fuck. That was like that was around reptiles. So there were like a few launch pads everyone was like bitching at each other. So yeah, we bounced around. We ended up launching on Solport. Minting experience was good on Solport from my understanding. I think it went smoothly as it usually does. But yeah, Mint was pretty messy, and Mint Day, like, yeah, like we low-key got flooded to shit on Mint Day. Like Mint Day was not a good day. We did mint out in decent time as well. And yeah, I don't think it could have been a lot worse. But I mean, since then, God, that was so long ago. Since then, I don't know, we've just kind of been working. It took us a while to get into the group of things after Mint, I think. Mint Day being a mess and kind of ending on a bad foot along with market and just like that huge surge of quote unquote liquidity that came in, like with OK Bears, with Trip and Ape, with like all these projects that we kind of launched at the same time aroundish, right? But yeah, I feel like from Mint, that's when it got real. And I don't think that we, as like a team, were necessarily prepared for what would come following Mint Day. And I think that it took us a little bit to actually get into the groove of just like understanding how the space moves, like how do we, please our holders, how do we do these things? And like there was a while where we went sub one SOL, we just kind of went down to the trenches, whatever. And I think for me, like the best thing I can say about my team is like we're pretty malleable. And I think that the discipline and resilience to actually learn from our mistakes and just kind of understand like, okay, we totally fucked up trying to do this, but like this is what works. Can I curse on here? Is that cool?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
We kind of abandoned all hope, dude. It's degens, right? I do not care. Like at the end of the day, it is people who are in Web3. They're very accustomed to this language.
I feel that, but okay, yeah. So like we just like I don't know, we kept on fucking up over and over and over. Like, and there was a reason we went below Mint. There was a reason we went below one SOL. So I just think part of it is just like, okay, how do you bounce back? How do you figure out like, okay, where do we go wrong? How do we fix it? So I think that's just part of the fight.
Yeah,
dude, I'm glad like you acknowledge that. There's too many people that in this space that'll be like, oh man, like we're doing a great job and we're below one SOL. It's like, nah, sometimes it's like you're below one SOL for a reason. Not only because the market values you at that, but maybe you've been messing up. So it's important to do some self analyzing what you did. So I commend that.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and dude, I remember the Mint hype because you guys were clustered around the same time as a bunch of other hype mints. Hydra was at the the tipping point really of when they they were at the peak of their existence, and then all of a sudden just absolutely fell off. Because I mean, like you had to deal with that too because you did have to switch to Solport, right? And then it was the migration from Hydra because they had the back end issues where there's insider trading and like they knew which ones were going to be rare and which ones weren't. They knew how to get whitelists to their teams like under the radar. Like it was bad, right? And so not only did you have to switch launch pads, but you also had to deal with like because you were associated with them, there was going to be FUD regardless, right? And it's just like it is always an uphill battle when you're facing FUD that's not even your fault, right? And then comes out like Vandal and you came out at the same time. The original artists for both the projects were about the same. And so like a lot of people are like, dude, what is going on here? And so the fact that you took all of that FUD in stride, you had to switch mint or launch pads, you had to figure out, okay, what's our like, how do we get back to our unique value proposition and deal with FUD that was outside of your control is nothing short of amazing. I mean, you guys went down to below one SOL and now look where you are. Like even when the market is absolutely, kind of capitulating in a sense because we don't know to SOL price movements. You guys have been strong. I mean, it's been a nice, strong upward trend for a while. Let's talk a little bit about a few things. So one, I want to talk about Troop because I think Troop is always interesting. We see a lot of projects come in with the SPL token. Can you walk us through what Troop was created for and like what purpose that you guys have set out for it?
Yeah, so this is SPL tokens. Okay. So Troop was created just pre-mint we were honestly debating like, oh, token, no token, whatever. But we ended up going with the token just in terms of flexibility and usability. But yeah, so Troop, you yield 8.88 Troop every day for staking your Jacon. Right now it's used for, I don't know, we were running raffles, but raffles, I don't know, like, raffles, whatever, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
like, dude,
we
I
had
agree with you
raffles.
on that. As somebody who else works on a project, it's like not only do you have to maintain them, but you also can't just throw riffraff in the raffle either. Like, and that you dude, you know, and it's just like every project has it now, so it's not even a selling point anymore.
We don't be doing raffles anymore. Partially out of laziness, but also partially because there's nothing exciting about a fucking raffle. So yeah, so we should use it for raffles. We had like the DTM, which was like it's kind of like a gumball machine with like dynamic rarities, whatever, essentially just gambling. But right now it's Troop's biggest utility. And for me, like, I will say this about SPL tokens before. Actually, let me finish and then I'll go back to my thoughts. Yeah, so right now, like, you can use Troop to pre-evolve your Jacon, aka meaning that you would get all those Infinity logos. The sceneries that you see on Magic Eden, those are pre-evolved Jacons, meaning that their metadata gets wiped and they're giving a rarity, and that image sort of represents what their rarity is. And by pre-evolving, you're not really getting the image, you're more so getting access to everyone knows my name. My name is Jake. That's crazy. You're not really pre-evolving. You're getting access to the utilities that will come with pre-evolutions, which is essentially just like a pop-up shop for us to test new utilities and just kind of things that we want to maybe present to other projects, whatever. It's basically just like a testing ground to some extent. But yeah, so that's like the first thing that I think is most important. Following that will be obviously the art upgrade and like full-on evolutions, as we're calling it, because if you have an ape and then like through time the ape will evolve to a human, which is kind of like, that's the lore behind it, I guess, right? So yeah, so right now I think pre-evolutions interacting with that whole entire like group of utilities, and then full-on art upgrade to humans will be the biggest use cases for Troop. And I do want to circle back to SPL tokens as a whole, and I feel like, I don't know, I do kind of want to talk about it. Like for me, I feel like coming with this art upgrade, we still need to do like our numbers, we still need to do some math and figure everything out. But like I feel like everyone's kind of over SPL tokens. Like from my perspective and from other projects' perspectives, and honestly, I feel like you'll probably agree with me to some extent. Having that pressure of like having to recirculate this token to provide value,
Yes.
but when it's really not even that much value, it's like, okay, like, do we want to try to do something totally different? Do we want to like, what do we want to do? Because for me, the way that I see Troop right now is like, it's really not worth anything. It's probably worth 2.5 cents. So holders are making 17 cents a day per Gcon. That is if it gets sold on Famous Fox. So for me, it's like, okay, I'd rather take the risk while the token's low and try to do something that's fucking crazy, make some headlines, like have more people come in and just like have the token find its own utility. There's so much infrastructure built around SPL tokens that something like clubs or like sub DAOs, whatever, like that's where an SPL token should be used. I think from a project standpoint, there's a different route to go about, because for me, like the last thing I want to be worrying about is counting how many wallets have over 1,000 Troop, how many, like what the circulating supply is, who's holding what. Like there's just too much going on for me to like fucking try to recirculate this thing that like doesn't provide that much value.
Liquidity pools, like, and that's the thing with SPL's token, man. It's like regardless of how much you try, you cannot have the holders detach the dollar value of that SPL token. So as that thing drops, you're going to get people complaining, regardless of like how much you tell them, dog, whatever, dude. So I'm right there with you, man. Like SPL tokens are just a lot of, I think, create more problems for the project than they're worth.
Than it solves. Yeah,
yep.
It definitely does. And like to even fall off of that, like again, when it comes to like, okay, what are we gonna do with Troop, whatever, there's not enough Troop in circulation for my current math on art upgrades and just like that full process. So it's like, okay, well, what the fuck do we do now? Because for me, like I want these guys to go and upgrade their NFT. Like I don't want to see these sceneries anymore. I don't want to see these apes anymore. Like I just want to see the humans. So for me, I'm like, okay, how do I kind of balance like convenience with like supporting everybody who's been like holding Troop and like planning the sell point on art upgrade? Like how do I find equilibrium here? How do I like kind of figure this out? So that's like another thing that I'm trying to do the math on as well. So it's just, I don't know, I feel like when you implement an SPL token, you constantly just work to recirculate that supply over and over and over again. And it really is just like, it's just a fucking spiral. It literally just keeps going in circles. Like drives me crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I could not agree more, especially we were in a meta, right, where it was like forced SPL. Like if you didn't have an SPL, it was your project wasn't anything. What's the utility on it? You know, Dust came out, and I think it set a precedent. Like a lot of people were like, "Oh, I got to have an SPL." You know, especially
Absolutely.
since DGods had their meteoric rise and Dust went to like $6, and like, oh, anything with an SPL is going to rip like that, right? And so a lot of people got like trapped in that confinement that not everybody is going to pull that off, nor it's very hard to, especially with collections like yours, where we don't have any expansionary measures. And what I mean by that is you're capped literally at your supply. And that's not even including like how many unique holders you have. So it's really just people
Absolutely.
trying to circle jerk each other to pump up this price when there's no outside demand. Unless you do a raffle, in which case, I mean, like you can get people that are like, man, I want this raffle, but since everybody is doing it now, it's spread so thin where there's not a concentrated one like Dust had in its run up. So we're just seeing like this economy is a scale, right? Like as we grew as Web3, SPLs just got, you know, outwiped and outdated.
Oversaturated.
And I think you're absolutely right with SPLs. One, you know, it doesn't really make sense outside of maybe, you know, like we're in a game economy with remnants, right? Like we have to have an SPL because you have to have in-game currency. But not
In
everybody
games, it makes sense.
and I think you're absolutely right when it comes to these sub DAOs and clubs that you can integrate an SPL and it would be more of a social value indicator or like a time held indicator of, you know, anything cool we do since you've been here from the beginning and it's measured by, you know, your SPL token or whatever you have, you can redeem a stake or a share or whatever that looks like, you know, within the confines of the law. And I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I mean, even with that, like when we talk about Dust or even Dust and Forge are kind of like my go-to for solid SPL references. I feel like Dust was the first, but like when you think about the general market landscape and like, oh, Dust is at $1, whatever, $1.50. How many coins can go to $1.50? Not very many. There really just isn't enough liquidity here to have that many valuable tokens. And even with that, like if you're not first, you're last. They were the first, and obviously that value has held itself. And for us, it's not like let's bitch and moan about it. Like I really do want to find a solution because I feel like there are a lot of projects that kind of deal with this problem and kind of feel like, okay, like we have this token, what the fuck does it do? So you know, that's something that we're kind of working on the back end to solve. And just honestly, I think in my head, the way that it should work is clear. I just think kind of onboarding people and onboarding everyone to like agree and be like, oh yeah, like this is a good idea is kind of the tricky part. But yeah, we'll cook something up. We always do.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no reason you shouldn't, but at the same time, like you don't have to force it. And I think it's one of the things that I appreciate so much about Ethereum NFTs. Not saying I like, you know, ETH, the network or anything like that, but the people over there have a different mindset. And I'm not sure if it's a function of price because they've held on for so long. And I've been saying this for a while. Their cost basis on the underlying asset is so low for the majority of them. Like a lot of people got, you know, sub $100 ETH, sub $400 ETH, and so any fluctuation in price, they're like, well, it's either a 4x multiple or a 10x multiple, right? Like, what do I care? I'm still making money. And they have stronger hands over there. And they also hold for the idea of this is fun. They're building out a brand and everything like that. And we don't really have that on Solana. It's like, what's the utility? When can I get it now? How can I get value driven back to me immediately? And it's like super short-sighted. So it's one of the things that I wish the community at large would kind of like give founders like yourself time. Like I love the art upgrade when it's not forced, and it doesn't feel like it's forced for you guys. Like the art upgrade, like we can talk about it in a little bit on your artists and everything that went into it. But for me, it was like, we're building out lore. We're building out a cool brand and IP over here. We are Jacon Studios. You literally see studios in the name. Like let's focus on that. And so it's getting back to not what's the meta, but what's going to actually propel our project to have unique value proposition. So I think you're doing it right. I think it's kind of like, well, we're in a bear market. We break off from the meta and we do our own thing. And this is the time to do it. And people start respecting it a lot more. So let's talk about what's in store for the future. We can talk about the art upgrade. We can talk about the artists that are involved, as well as the future plans for Jacon.
Yeah, so future plans for Jacon. I think let's talk about why we did it. I feel like honestly, a lot of people just like to bitch and complain, just about, oh, like you guys did it because they're doing it, you guys did this, whatever.
Right.
If you go and look at the original ape Jacons, like the layering was bad. It was honestly just like, I don't know, it wasn't good layering. The art wasn't cohesive. Like we had the problem where we look similar to said other project, whatever. Which, if we want to get specific about it, I have no problem kind of explaining that whole thing. But yeah, it needed to be done, and along with that, like going to humans. Jikan means time for reference, so a lot of people were like shocked. They were like, "Yo, like, why are you doing humans? Like, why not an ape?" Um, Evolution, evolution, scientific, but like, so for me, like, yeah, that I get a lot of those comments. I'm kind of sitting there like, okay, like, I don't know what to tell you. But the other thing too is like, for me, I feel like from a PFP perspective, and we'll get more into like the depths of what a PFP is. From a PFP perspective, I feel like humans just do it. And for me, like when it was like, okay, because part of it was like, oh, maybe we'll go back in time. Maybe we'll do like half or human, half or like more primitive ape, whatever. But for me, I was sitting there and like when it came down to it, I was like, bro, I was like, I want a human PFP. Like
Right.
that's what I want. So let's just do the entire collection of fucking humans. And let me tell you, the humans are not easy. Like not at all. It's really just not easy because
No.
they need to be. They're not dead. They're not gods. They're not like anime characters with special abilities. They're not. They're just humans, which is really difficult. How do you have like some sort of intended rarity when you just have a normal human, like a normal guy? Like these guys are people that you'll see walking on the streets. Now, granted, we will have some traits that aren't realistic, obviously, but you know what I mean. We can't just like we kind of have to play it safe. And it's like then you also have like, okay, like what hair is everyone rocking with? Like what color hair should we do? How do we make sure that this color hair looks cohesive with like this jacket? Like okay, like as an example, bro, blonde hair is really hard to work with, especially when you're drawing it. Like blonde hair is tough because you have to have the right tint of yellow. The yellow has to go with the background, but also have to like not clash with any of the traits. Like blonde is tough. So for me, like yeah, we're in terms of artists. We started off when we were working like really heavily with Arkenfu. And he's on. If you actually here, let me send you links. And you can maybe pull it up if you would like. We're working really heavily with Arkenfu and Jinraf, and they're both Indonesian artists. They're literally the best. Like
Yeah,
I
I've
swear
heard
to
of
God, they're the
Arkansas.
best. Yes, they're literally the best guys ever. Let me get this link here because I would like to show you.
No, while you're pulling that up, dude, Jinraf and Arkenfu are like some of my favorites. Jinraf especially, like his art scenes are absolutely immaculate. Like I've seen very few,
Bro,
and I've said this for a while. Like Indonesian artists are just
Yeah.
they're built different, dude. I don't know what it is that they're feeding them over there or what, but one, they crank out at an incredible rate, and then two, the stuff they come up with is just like visually beautiful. So I could not agree more. And Jinraf is like the pinnacle
Jinraf
of
is
artists.
him. Jinraf is him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just sent both in Twitter DMs or in our group chat.
Okay.
We got lucky. I think we got lucky with both of them. We found Jin like before everyone else found Jin. We found Jin when he was getting like 5 soul sales. So when we found him, it was just like, fuck yes, like we aren't gonna get egoed, like everything's gonna be good. And Fu was like, we found him around the same time, and we were like, all right, like, let's just take both of them. They're both literally the nicest guys. Like they're so sweet to work with. Like it was Jin's birthday the other day. We wished him a happy birthday. He was really happy about it. But no, I mean, it's just like in terms of communication, this is like another question I get a lot. I had a call with like I don't know. I don't like to name drop, but I had a call with an artist and he was like, oh, so he was like, are your artists like working together? Are you guys all in the same like house? And I was like, no, like that's not a normal thing. Like, no. So in terms of communication with them being from Indonesia and like just like the language barrier to some extent, they do know some English. The language barrier is definitely there and just like communication is there. So we've had to try to like navigate our way around. And like I think Bennett, I don't know if Bennett's still here, but he was in chat earlier. Like Bennett has like this notion set up with like all these traits and just like circling things and like drawing lines and like all these different things. It's just like really just trying to be thorough and make sure we get the right message across. And they're literally like they're just so wholesome and sweet to work with. So it's been fun. And we have been like really pressing them because of just how many iterations we've done. But I think that this coming iteration will be it. Like I'm feeling really good about where the art is right now. And it took a lot in terms of just like figuring out color relativity, color theory, color cohesiveness, trait cohesiveness, like layering, but also layering of the clothing, like the way that a shirt
Mhm.
falls on you,
Mhm.
depending on the way that you're sitting, depending on the way that you're standing, like
Making sure it
there's a
doesn't
lot.
clash with other traits, dude. It's so much like people don't understand that goes on in the back
Nah,
end. It's like
they
it,
don't get it.
no, they just want the thing to release to like so they can flip it real quick. It is just like, yo, calm down so we can make this the best art possible.
That's what I mean. I think okay, so like in terms of humans and in terms of all that, like whatever, I genuinely do believe that like best human PFP. Like I really think that we're going for it. I really think it's a solid, just like a solid design, and that's kind of like the way we've been taking it is as a design, I guess proposition, design problem rather than art because like art is art and you can be more free with art. Generative art is not art; it's design. So like we're really just trying to dance around like these, just like there's honestly so much, and I'll answer anything you guys got. But if I keep monologuing, I can monologue for hours. So we'll just break it apart piece by piece.
No, you're good, bro. I seriously, what happened to Arcanfu's form function profile? Because I couldn't pull it up, and I'm not sure why.
Oh, is it
And I
gone?
searched for him, and I
Yeah,
couldn't
me
see it.
either.
So maybe it's just me.
Did
Maybe he
the
blocked me
SEC
on form
bust in on
function.
them, dog?
Oh shit! Wait, what the fuck? Yo, where'd he go? Oh wait,
I don't
no,
know. That's
he's
what I'm
here.
saying. Is like I remember looking for it, and I can't find it now. So I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if form function has some issues over there. But you guys saw Jim Raff. I posted it on the screen. Jim Raff is I mean he's incredible, and I really do put him up there with some of the best in the space right now. Like
Absolutely.
everybody talks about John Lay, and everybody talks about High Blinks and the scums of the world and stuff. But Jim Raff is right up there.
Giraffe is him.
Ben, what's his? I'm always going to butcher his last name.
Boucher.
Yes, thank you. I always want to butcher his last name, but is somewhat similar style. Like it's
Yes.
nice seeing like inspirations in everybody's pieces where you can see like, oh, they kind of use a similar style, but they have their own twist on it. And so Jin Raff is right up there, dude. I love his work. I remember seeing Jin Raff's work when it was like 10 Sol, and now they're going for like 40,
80.
50 like minimum. And that's if you're lucky. And it's one, if you guys don't know about form function, it's not nearly as hot of a marketplace as Exchange. Hopefully it's getting there. Hopefully their marketing gets better because I like the experience better. But that's a lot for a form function piece. Like that is a really good piece. So yeah, definitely think you guys got a gem. Congrats on finding him early, dude. That is amazing.
Yeah. No, it really has been a pleasure. Like I can't say it enough. He's literally wonderful. Like he's just like the nicest guy. I don't know. He's got
Awesome.
yeah. He's
That's
the man.
awesome. We can talk a little bit. Dude, one, I would love to hit home. You're absolutely right. Like art is art, but generative art is design. And I think that is so important. I think that's a something that a lot of people don't get because there's a lot of complexities with it, right? I mean, it is like a series of if-then statements. Like if you
Yeah.
have hair, you can't have it spurting out the side of the helmet if you're having a helmet or something like that, right? It's just those little design things that go a long way and can make or break the generative collection. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I love that you're putting so much thought and process into it. But let's talk a little bit about the traits and everything like that. Like, how many traits are you guys working with? What are we at right now? You don't have to give me a final number because
No, I know the
you know what it
numbers.
looks like.
I know the numbers. We were at 158. And we did the generations and we just did not fuck with the generations. So now we're not at 158 anymore. We're really going for, I don't know, we were naive, and like I don't want to say like, oh, I know it all, like I'm generative art, I'm him, whatever. We are still learning as we go. I do feel relatively confident this time around that we're gonna nail it. But like the first time we've finished the art like 2 or 3 times now, and like each time we've done it, it just hasn't given that.
Yep.
It just hasn't been giving. So this time around, like, oh, I'm dying. We're going for a little bit more of like a premium men's type of feel, like something like, holy shit. I don't know. I'm literally dying. All right. Yeah, I'm dying. All right. So we're going for something like, if you're like walking around the street, like you're going to see it. I'm going to see it. Like just like something people can actually relate to and wear. I think that, I don't know if you know a kid called Bison on Ethereum. I wouldn't say that they're inspiration, but I just think the overall like aesthetic in terms of just like, actually, that's a bad example. We're just doing our own thing, just like something you would see in everyday life, like something that you could say like, oh, I'll PFP that because like I literally own that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the way we're going for it. And in terms of just like color and all these different things, like the first time around and the second and third time around, we were just using like a lot of like gradients or just like colors that really shouldn't have been used. There's this one video on like just like color theory, and one of the quotes at the end of the video, which is so obvious, but you don't really like think about it, is like, okay, like yes, you may have like a box of crayons that has like, I don't know, 1,000 colors, or no, you have your digital crayons, you have 1,000,000 colors, whatever. You don't have to use all of them. So after that, we really went with like the 30-60-10 rule in terms of just like, okay, like neutrals, dark colors, and then just like your highlights and just sort of your pop colors. And just along with that, even just like a more toned down palette in general. We literally, I couldn't tell you how many colors we used the first time around. But this time around, like if you have a red helmet and we draw a red jacket like a couple weeks later, it's gonna be the same red. Highlight, shadow, and just like the primary, it's always gonna be the same. So we're really just like going through and just like refining. And something that I'm still trying to piece together because I would like to write a piece on it is just like atomic design theory, or just like that whole idea of like you have your atoms, you have your molecules, you have your organisms, you have all these things, which is like in terms of UI design, it would be like your atoms is your typography and your colors and like your line width. And then your atoms are going to be your like your buttons, or you know what I mean? You just slowly scale up till you piece together a web page. It's kind of the same thing. So for us, like we're trying to figure out, okay, like this is the brush, this is the weight of the brush, this is the color palette, these are the primaries, these are the highlights, these are the shadows. Then from there, you just kind of piece all these things together. And that's kind of like what we're going for. And just in terms of trying to create a generative collection, would like to contribute to the way people do it, because I feel like there's no really fucking book. There's no like, oh, you need to do this, this, and this. I feel like so many projects fuck it up. Like even background colors, like don't get me started on the background colors. Don't get me started, but like there's no rhyme or reason. Like, and for us, it's really just about understanding the why rather than the how. It's the journey, I guess, because like all these projects be like, oh, like where's the content? Where's this? Whatever. All these like fuck ups and reiterations that we're doing, like we have so much content. I could really speak about this for hours and hours and hours. So I don't really mind. It does get like a little upsetting at times because I do know that people want the art to be done. I know they want it to be delivered. But it's all part of the process. And like I think that it's getting to the point where the community we've curated, I see Tryhard in the chat. The community that we've curated has really just like been backing us on that and just like honestly pushing us to continue taking our time to some extent. So I really do like appreciate the patience. I cannot say how much I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, we're just like every day we're just trying to like figure shit out and just like keep going. Because it is something that would like to say like, okay, like this is the project, this is what we spent so long on, and like we want to share all of it. Like this is how you do it, this is how you don't do it. So that's just something we're going for.
Yeah, man, it's great to hear. Once again, you're taking your time with this. You only get one chance for a new art upgrade, unless your marketing plan is to. What's up?
That's a really good point, because if you fuck it up once, no one's gonna trust you to go back and fix it.
Nope. And then you're just gonna get drugged through crypto Twitter. So yeah.
Oh God, that's literally valid. That's actually the best point. Like that's something that like Frank said to me when I don't know, whatever. I said I don't name it, but no, that's something Frank said. He was like, listen, like you guys need to take as long as you need to take, because like if you fuck it up or something goes wrong, like this is the riskiest move you can make, because if you don't execute properly, it's over. It's wraps. Like no one's gonna trust you to do it again. Like it's just game over. And I was like, that is terrifying, but you're right.
It's so true, dude.
It's true.
And it is the nice thing about where you guys are right now, and it's something I've observed with NFT projects for a while. Cyber Samurai is, obviously a connection that both Dora and I have, but it is, once you've been around for this long, the people that are in your community and the ones that you've curated are the ones that are ride or die. Like they give you so much more leeway than right off a mint, where, one single thing, all of a sudden you have like an incredibly price sensitive project where it starts, absolutely going down. And sometimes it's a blessing though, because that means that you're finding the right people that are like, look, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Like this thing just minted. What do you mean? Like, of course it didn't 10x, especially in this market conditions. And so you start weeding out the people that have unrealistic expectations or that don't align with your vision, which is totally fine. They're like, yeah, this project isn't for me. Now that you've been through that point, like I think a lot of people would be like, dude, take all the time you want. I'm glad I've been an early believer. I got in at a really good price, or I've been here from the bottom. I know Door got in at Cyber Samurai like under 0.3 soul, and is feeling just fine. And I'm sure a lot of people in Jacon are like, dude, I was buying it like one soul. This was easy money for me. And so they're starting to see the fruits of the labor. And once you start seeing that generative design that you have coming out with the art, I think it really will make a difference. I already see it from your PFP. They are incredibly good looking humans. And to hit on your point, humans are so hard to nail, especially on a generative scale, right? Like you said, you know, with farm animals and apes and chimps and everything like that, you have a little bit more wiggle room because it plays to the imagination, where especially when you're going for something that is not just a human, it's not like a god or anything like you said, it is something or someone you'd see walking down the street, you know, with like streetwear attire, or you know, wearing Hawaiian shirts or something like that, and trying to make it stand out enough that people are like, you know what, I really vibe with this a whole lot, and finding that mix is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and it's like right now I am trying to find like this balance, because obviously it won't just be like humans. Like people have like cool skins, or honestly the skins will go fucking crazy, but it's just like not overdoing it. I feel like obviously there has to be like that like pop of color with the skins, and just like that rarity implied with the skins. That's what people like to trade on. But the factor of just having like the base character just straight up be like a normal guy that you'd see every day, it is like really fucking hard. But like again, like I'm feeling very good about it this time around. Like this is the one. I usually tell myself this is the one, but actually this is the one. Like we're in a very controlled environment, so we're just we're just trying to fucking figure it out. I don't know, but I am feeling good about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, dude, I'm excited. One, because I just love really good generative design. You know, I'm big in the 101 space, but like a good generative collection that's just really aesthetically pleasing throughout the board. And I always say your collection's only as good as your floors. Yeah, and so you know, like we see it. I don't mind calling some projects out like Knittables recently. Like some of the 101s, I'm like, those are pretty sick. And then you start seeing the floors and you're like, what the fuck is that? Like what is that? That's an atrocity. So I always tell people, like, you're only as good as your floors. I think Klainos is one, you know, a recent memory that did really good. Like you see the deviation between the good ones and then the floors. Like a lot of people are like, man, I just want one with like a sad face or a happy face, or you know, it's just kind of like, you know, creeping around or something. And I think that's what makes a good collection. I mean, you see it across the board. D-Gods is another one where, dude, I know everybody has their opinion on D-Gods, but Dead Gods in like throughout the collection looks so good. And I like a floor looks like a floor to me, but it still is a nice looking floor. So I'm excited to see what your floor looks like. You can give me all the 101s you want, but let me see your floor and I'll let you know if it's a good collection. So I'm excited to see it. We can talk a little bit more about your future developments too. Do you guys have anything planned after you guys get through this design and start releasing it?
Absolutely, yeah. So in terms of the like actual release, they are, all the NFTs are in that pre-revealed state, quote unquote. Everyone loves the manual reveal. Obviously, it is an art upgrade, so there will be like some sort of a bump there with the SPL token. But yeah, so like we want to do something a little bit more fun for the reveal in terms of just like, I mean, listen, we found the 101 artists like back in July or August. Like we know a lot of the artists. So obviously we would like to throw some shit in and just like kind of spice it up a little bit. But yeah, we would like to, this is all just temporary because we do have our rules in terms of like rarities, because we do have to uphold rarities in some one-to-one trade swaps. So this is all hypothetical, but I would like to put together some sort of special, I guess like burn to reveal mechanism where it's a little bit of a twist rather than just like you open one and you get what you get, whatever. So that may be coming. A whole new website, like we finished a roadmap graphic a really long time ago, which is still in play, and we just haven't like had the time fucking like really market it and just put it out there. But like new roadmap graphic, new website, all that type of shit will come out. New staking platform, new, just like honestly new staking experience to some extent. We want to try to play around with like, just like put your NFT. Well, we want to go non-custodial, but hypothetically, put your NFT into this like, you know, staking wallet and just sit there and come back and like get your shit and you're done. We kind of want to make it a little bit more enjoyable, not necessarily social staking, but something along the lines of, I think that like the idea of achievements is really cool. So maybe play around with something like that, just like something that people can actually interact with, just connect your Twitter, connect your Discord, just, not have to be a fucking whale to be number one on the leaderboard, whatever.
Right.
So that should be exciting. And then from there, we, depending on where we move with SPL tokens, I think what it's really going to be for us is obviously the art, obviously the community. UI UX is really important to me personally. It hits home for me. It's like one of my newfound skills since becoming a project founder is like I do all the UI design. So that's like really important. But for me, it's definitely community. If the community's not vibing, if everyone's not having a good time, it doesn't fucking matter what products you roll out. It doesn't matter. Like, so community and art's number one. And then for my community, UI UX needs to be on point. I don't want them using shitty websites. And then for the rest of the space, I mean, I feel like we've learned a lot, and I feel like we may not necessarily be acknowledged of learning a lot, but I feel like there's a lot of projects that are in similar positions to us. And just like for me, something I'd like to do is just like, okay, like this is how we did it. Just kind of outline it, document everything, just be helpful to some extent. And then obviously these products that we plan to build out to, kind of support what we do want to do or not want to do with SPL tokens. I think for me is the focus is going to be like building infrastructure for that and being like, okay, like if you guys don't want to do X, Y, or Z anymore, or you guys want to do this, that, whatever, like we can help. Like just let us know. We've been through it. We've fucking seen it all. Like please just let me know what you need. So yeah, I mean that's it for me. But in terms of like utility, I don't really like talking utilities. I really do think the most important thing is just like the community aspect. You could build the best utilities on the entire, like you could build the best shit ever. If you don't have a community, like it'll get boring, it'll die out, and no one will care.
Doug, I love what you said because people forget that community is utility, man. It's like the friends that you make, the people the connections that you make, the alpha that you get from talking to these people all the time. That's utility. Like sometimes people expect passive income and to make $1 million off of doing absolutely nothing. But what happens if you just contribute to a community? You can find 10x more value than you could have gotten over on some Ponzi rev share project. So I agree with you, man. Community is definitely the best utility out there.
No, I feel like even with that, part of it is like, okay, like when someone's going to sell, you say, okay, like how do I provide more utility not more utility, not utility. How do I provide more value to someone who's looking to sell by staying? And the answer is like, okay, for me, like something that like me and one of my managers, Jax, I don't know if he's here or not. We were talking about it, and he was like, listen, like if I'm using like a Utes PFP, like I'm gonna get engagement, and that's utility. Like part of that is utility. Like if I'm using Utes, like people are gonna answer my DMs quicker. That's part of the utility. So for me, it really is just like building this really reputable sort of like just like presence to some extent, and that like starts for me too. It's like something that we say or just like kind of go by on the team is like I say one at a time, or it only takes one or whatever, like improve 1% every day. It all starts with one. So I think it's like partially my job to be like, okay, like this is me, like this is Corrupt, this is Urban. You guys can call me Jake. I honestly might change the fucking Corrupt shit. It's getting old. My name's Jake, but like this is Jake, like fucking this is his project, like these are like these guys are his holders, like answer. I think yeah, but just like community, social presence, like that is all utility and that all provides value. So when I'm sitting here and it's like, oh, like what are you doing for utilities? What's this? What are you gonna do after that? Like, oh, it's like people don't even care.
No.
They don't even care. They think that they care. They don't give a fuck. Like,
dude, they want to know the utility so they can find out bullish catalysts to know whether they can
exit.
exit. No, that's what they want to know.
Like, yeah, no, you got to keep them, bro. You got to keep them on their toes. Like you won't be saying nothing. And you just let it be. Like, I think, dude, the whales in Jacon. I will say this. The fucking whales in Jacon is literally like they have like this. Like they have this little Discord. And I'm in the Discord. I leave and I join, or I get kicked sometimes because they have like meetings and they just like I don't even know. They just do whatever they do. But like, dude, there's like fucking DSs in there. Like everyone's in there, and they all just fucking chill. They have like calls every weekend or some shit. I don't even know. Like it's dope to see because it's like, I don't know. The pump that we had recently from I don't know, like 5 to 8 or 9, whatever that was like, we didn't do anything. That was them just
Good.
like, that was them.
That's the
And it
best
was,
pup to
yeah,
have, man.
dude, it's just like, it's
Mhm.
literally the best, exactly, because like,
Mhm.
we didn't do anything. We just kind of supported it. And that was like something that I did like little mini AMA with them one day. And I was like, listen, guys, like, we as a team, like, we can only do so much. And it's like, you know what I mean? We can't just like keep on shoving shit on Twitter or whatever. People want to see other people just like marketing, being kind of active, like not chilling. Like, don't chill. Just
Mhm.
put on the
Mhm.
PFP, which is kind of a tough thing. Put on the PFP because it's not on chain. I know people like me. It doesn't feel like my PFP because it's not in my wallet. So I do get that, but I'm like, all right, yo, like put on the PFP and just like go provide value to other
Mhm.
communities. Just like go sit in chat, go make friends, just go be yourself.
Mhm.
And I feel like we're kind of getting to this point where I don't know. It feels like the sentiment around Jacon is like really. I mean, everyone's kind of like, oh, what are they gonna do? Like, I think if we nail it, which we will fucking nail it because we're going to. It's taken so long, we're gonna nail it. I just think I don't know. I feel like it's there. Um, I'm not gonna say like, oh, it's primed or like, oh, it's this, oh, it's that, whatever. I just know how much work we put into it. I know how much time and care goes into it. Like, I really don't think there's many other teams that are like at our size of which like it's not that many people. Like, it's not that many of us.
Mhm.
Size, floor price wise, like I really just think we put in the extra effort, we put in the extra time. Like I think hard work beats talent. And I also think we have a lot of talent. So I just feel like we're in a really good spot.
Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
definitely position yourself well. And like I said, you guys came from, getting at absolutely, I don't even want to call it, you guys got funded.
Yeah.
It was the
Yeah.
FUD
We got
form that you
blasted.
guys got like handed, and you just had to deal with it at the start. And you guys have been around and just grinded through it. So there's nothing but respect for you guys. And obviously your community, I mean, they're rabid, and there's nothing
Yeah.
better than a rabid fun community, not a rabid bad
Absolutely.
community. I've had rabid bad, and it's never fun to deal with.
I do.
Yeah.
No, dude, they're the best. Like, they actually are the best. And even like talking about mint, whatever, it took like a while for us to get back to positive sentiment. Like, when you go under mint, like first day, and you
Mhm.
don't recover first day, like it's fucking hard because then everyone just has this like poor taste in their mouth. They like
Mhm.
grinded for whitelist, so they bought whitelist, then they lost money, and it's like, all right, well, fuck. Like, sorry guys, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, dude. It's like people, once again, who don't work on a project, they don't understand how difficult it is to bring your floor price up instead of just, rugging and then starting a new one. Glad you didn't rug, but it shows how much grit and determination you have as a founder that you kept going, trying to bring value back to your project and bring that project back up, vice the 100 founders who just got exhausted by that process or all intentionally just rug because they knew how difficult it would be.
I was like, oh, Jackson's in chat. Yeah, hi Jackson. No, that's like exactly it too. Is I I don't understand just like the packing it up type of thing. Like, I feel like especially now more than ever, like we've been through it as a community, and like for me right now, I work every day right now. I'm working every day for the art. I think that the art we're about to release deserves the best chance to succeed, and that's something Ben said earlier in chat. Like, they put so like the artists put so much work into it. Like, I have to do right by them. I have to put this in a position where it can just blow up. But also like my community and the people that have believed in me from DS is here as well.
Hey,
Um,
DS.
yeah, just like my community and everybody that's kind of been here, like they deserve it more than me. Like, they deserve to feel like they've won. They deserve to feel like they're, you know what I mean, one of the bets that they made paid off. I want these guys to be able to go into a Discord and be like, oh shit, like he has a Jacon, like, yo, like, look how clean that is, whatever. Like, yo, like, what is that? That's kind of like the feeling. I want them to feel like winners to some extent. I want them to feel like, oh, like the Chads or like whatever. Because they deserve it. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, got me all sad.
100%.
But yeah, they deserve it more than me. Oh God, they deserve it.
Yo, and 1 minute. First off, Magic Eden has absolutely been cranking through. I just wanted to delist the one Jacon I have listed because I love it, dude. Honestly, I have three, so yes, I'm not DS or anything like that, but I I I love it. I love that you guys are kind of focusing on what's going to add longevity to the project rather than what's going to just pump us in the intermediate term, or the short to intermediate term, because dude, it never works. It never works out in the long run. And people who pander to that kind of thinking are going to get burnt 99% of the time, right? It's how can I
Absolutely.
add longevity to the project, and where can we actually take this thing? You guys obviously have thought about it. You guys have put an insane amount of thought into art design, and I really do think that you guys are going to hit it out of the park.
I appreciate that. I really do appreciate it. You know, we fucking I hope so. I think so too. But yeah, I mean, it means a ton. We I don't know, I don't really got words. Like we really do put like a ton of fucking time into it, and like there really aren't enough words to express that. And like I honestly stress out about it because I do want to start up a Substack. I don't know why. It's just like on my to-do list to start a Substack. Like these are gonna like take fucking forever to write and just like break this whole thing down. But I really would like to document, you know, the process.
No,
There you
dude,
go.
that type of documentation is invaluable, man. We're deep bear right now, but there's going to be another bull market eventually, and then when that is,
Absolutely.
people are going to be looking for resources like that to be able to launch their own project or learn from others' mistakes, and that'll definitely help tons of people out, man.
Yeah, I know that Candy Apple is writing his own version as well. I don't know if he was mentioned. He's like one of the DGod Utes artists. But he's writing his own version on the thing as well. And I don't know, like even there's just a lot that goes into it that people don't really pay attention to, and like statistical rarity as well. I haven't even touched on it, but like there is a lot of like statistical rarity when you do like the art upgrade, and like even shifting from 13 categories down to 7, which was previously 8 is now 7. Like there are impacts on rarity, and you do kind of need to do the math. Like we're with this guy, his name is Exempt, and he's just like really he's like a genius. I don't know how the fuck he does it, but like he literally went through like all the Jacons, and like if it had a 1-to-1 swap, it would make sure that it stayed in the common. We have these rarities because you can't do a 1-to-1 trait swap and maintain 1-to-1 rarity. It's not impossible, but it's next to very, very, very
It's difficult,
improbable.
man.
So he literally went through this spreadsheet, and just like if it had like a purple hoodie, which is a 1-to-1 swap, and it had like a crown, he would go through and make sure that, okay, like if your Jacon is an epic and it has a purple hoodie and a crown, you'll have a purple hoodie and a crown. Like he literally sat there and just like fucking went through it, like 0 to 8,888, and like he did a pretty good job. Like from my understanding, there were like a few mix-ups on the borders of like epic and rare, and then like common, uncommon. Like that's where it got kind of messy. For the most part, he killed it. Proud of him. He did a good job. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, dude. I love talking to you, man, because you are voicing a lot of the difficulties of behind
That
me.
people don't understand. They
Yes,
don't get
man.
it,
Yes, dude. It's like everybody's just sitting there on the Twitter space talking about we're building, hanging out, we're building. No, dog. It's like you're not building until you're like
You're not
building
building
an actual
shit, bro.
project.
No, I feel on that, bro. No, I feel like the other thing is, I don't know. I see that's what I mean is like, no, I feel like they don't really get it, and especially for Solana founders, I like seeing the conversations of like, oh, like Solana founders have it so much harder than ETH founders. I totally fucking agree. I totally agree. Like, but to some extent, I feel like there's just not people don't really know like the work that goes into it. And I feel like that's something else I want to do is like when we push all this out, like I want to talk about the work that went into it because A, it's interesting. B, there's people who may not have thought it was interesting. Like for me, I wasn't when I first got into the space, believe it or not, I'll be honest here. I wasn't the biggest art guy. I didn't have like the biggest eye for it. I didn't really get it. And like I always grew up and it was like, oh, like you're a logic. You know, they say right brain, left brain, whatever, like logic versus creative. Like, oh, you're logic. I'm not logic based. I'm way more creative than I am logical. And like this whole process too, and why I'm being such like an asshole about it is like I didn't realize that about myself until I started this. And for me, like I think I am starting to have that eye for things and just like even like UI design and all that type of stuff. Like I think that we always do these things where it's like, okay, like define Jikan in like one sentence, like, you know, those one sentence pitches, whatever. And I'm never able to do it because I feel like we haven't really established like a culture. Like we have a culture. I just don't have words for it. And the other thing is like, I feel like as a team and as a project, like we're still learning. And it's okay to say that, like, we're not perfect. Like we don't know everything. But like to understand that like we are still learning and we're still like finding out about ourselves and like what we're good at is I think that's part of it as well. And I just don't think that there's many people that are like willing to admit that in the space.
Yes.
But yeah, like I don't know, honesty and transparency is just like the go-to. So
So, dude,
it is
see,
what it is.
I like you, buddy, and I know the chat's blowing up. They're like, "Oh, Dor, I'm going to buy a couple, 2 or 3 Jacons once we get off stream today." So stop, don't front run me or start listing now. But
Front
no,
run them.
man.
Front run them right now. Everybody get them. Go delist Jacon. Dor's buying.
I was just gonna say you're right, dude. I appreciate your transparency, and I'm always drawn to founders who are very transparent and try not to hype up or give some crap about or try to be something they're not to be. If you're still working yourself out and you're learning from your mistakes, I think that's the most important thing because you're going to continue to try, you're going to be adaptable, you're going to figure things out instead of somebody sitting up here acting like they have the answer to everything in this fast as heck space. Yo, so like, yeah, I appreciate your transparency, dog.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't know. I really think that that's like the right way to go about it. I hate like even I don't know if you remember fucking Frank and Foxy Dev fighting the other day on Twitter about just like, oh, like you guys deliver nothing for your holders, but Famous
That's
Fox
not
makes
true.
a lot of money. And then they're like, and then Famous Fox is like, oh, well, you guys just overhype everything. I think there's a very fine line. I don't think that you need to be on both ends of the spectrum. Like, yes, both ends are really good. And when you talk about equilibrium, I think that what Frank does is obviously fantastic, bro. He's literally, I don't even know how he does what he does. Like the growth hacking and marketing on his side is incredible. Foxy Dev is polar opposite, like totally just delivers, silent, whatever. I think that equilibrium outweighs both of them. And I think that we obviously have a fuck ton to prove. And I'm not even going to say like we're on the same level as Frank or Foxy Dev. But like there is a fine line. I think that just like being honest, not really overhyping, not really like over promising nothing, but also not under promising. Like there's just a fine line of just like this is what it is, this is what it's going to be, and like you guys are gonna fuck with it, and like everyone's gonna rock with it. Like there is a way to do it. I think that both sides are wrong in their little argument. I just think there is a middle ground to find, and that's something that again like we're trying to navigate as well. Like how do we market without being misleading? How do we like not lead people on? How do we not like we like to say blue ball? Like how do we not blue ball these guys? Like literally, how do we just like fucking operate as like an honest and like, okay, like they're working. We know the Jacon team is working. They're gonna figure it out, and it'll come when it makes sense to come, and everything will be good to go. Pause. But like, yeah, like what the fuck, bro? I don't know.
No, dude. Once again, dog, I feel you. Like I feel people either have too narrow of a definition of utility or have
too wide.
Yes, too wide. It's like there's utility for each project. And like we can talk about categories. Like your tech-based utility, such as Foxy, isn't going to have the same hype behind it, nor does it need to have the same hype behind it as Frank. But when Frank is trying to build stuff, but when you're focused more, like Frank's an excellent marketer, probably the best on Solana NFTs because DGOTS and Utes wouldn't have been number 1 and 2 without that. So you can feel some type of way about him. It doesn't matter. But saying that he's not as good marketing is not understand the market. So you can't compare and say Frank isn't as good as Foxy. Well, they're in completely 2 different things. Like, why are you trying to compare them? Yeah. They're good in their own right. So stop just trying to either have a narrow definition and say, oh, Frank hasn't built any yet. Yes, he has. He's built a great community, and he's amazing.
Community and presence. Yeah.
So he's like, there's a broader definition to what it considers to be a great builder or a great founder than not applying to your narrow definition of whatever you think utility is.
Absolutely. Dude, Solana NFTs, man.
Yep.
NFTs.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, it's true. One, I mean, Dor and Corrupt Jake, you guys handled that conversation incredibly well. I can't really do anything besides echo those sentiments. I will say, like, a lot of people are like, oh, you just operate off hype. Dude, capturing attention is one of the best utilities really hard. You can possibly have. Like, what are you talking about? If he captured attention in Solana NFTs, no less, like the fact he's moving to Ethereum just shows, like, one, he's outgrown our ecosystem. Like, what else is he going to do on Solana? And then 2, he knows that, man, if I already conquered Solana, which is not it's not a community that understands the value of attention capturing, and I can become the number 1 on ETH, which I know he's vying for. Like, why else would you move over there? He wants to conquer more lands. Dude, why don't more owners have that ambition? Like, it doesn't have to be, like you said, if you're utility focused, you keep doing you, boo-boo. You stay in your lane. If you want to capture attention and you're good on that, like, go for it. But if you want to just develop the best consumer focused goods and services, go for it. Do your thing, but don't knock on somebody else for gathering attention and being really good at marketing. Like, that's silly to me. And vice versa, right? Like, oh, they're not good at marketing or anything. So they're building the best products like on Solana or something, you know? And so I think at the end of the day, nobody wins there. It's a really bad conversation to have, but Corrupt, I do want to talk to you a little bit about the burn to earn the next generation. I don't know if you know. Again, I have zero interest in Cyber Samurai besides the 28 I own. Not financial advice. Don't do it, or do it. I don't know. Cyber Samurai is great. It is another rabbit community, just like Jacon, dude. They always show up. So, one of the things we had was Tensei, and I don't know if you heard about Tensei or saw it. But if you guys are curious, we also had carryover traits and stuff when it came to that. Again, I have no financial interest in it. And I want to say it before Door does because he actually is the COO over there. And so I see a lot of crossover. So if you ever want to talk to them, like,
I actually can have a conversation. I think, Door, I think that we simulate on many of the same things. I think we probably will have to have a private call at some point.
Yes, I would like that. And that's why I was vibing with you. I'm like, man, he sounds like...
No, I was saying, bro really gets it. Bro really gets it. Dude, shit's fucking, it's hard. Oh my God, it's hard. I
know. Yeah, dude, we can talk more about it in a private conversation, but it'd be great to talk to you.
We'll talk, bro. We will talk, No, I'm down for that. Yeah, just fucking, here, I'll send you my Discord in this video group chat after.
Cool.
We can talk.
Sounds good. Man, building bridges over here, not burning them. You love to see it. That's what RareFUD's all about. So, all right. Well, guys, dude, this hour's flown by. I feel like we could talk for like another 2 hours. And I always say that because we have the best guests. I don't know what it is, but like I've never had an interview on RareFUD because I think we vet our projects. One, we know, like, dude, I don't care who you are. If you have worked your way up from literally being like sub 1 soul to where you are now, like, dude, you doing something right over there. So
Thank you.
It's a no-brainer, right? And so you guys are definitely crushing it. I bought the 3 Jacons a while ago, and so I'm glad I held on to them. And
are you up?
So I'm up. I'm up. Yeah, I bought right before this most recent pump, so it was a couple of months ago. I do have to give shouts to DS because DS gets a lot of what I do as far as the market sentiment and everything like that. Guys ago.
DS, sorry, real quick, Bison. DS, your fucking timeline solid, dog. Like one of the most base takes consistently.
W takes.
Yeah, so he definitely I didn't realize that you guys, because you guys were on my radar when you guys first announced the art rework, and then I found out it was by Jinrap. I was like, dude, sign me up. And so I held him a while back, ended up selling towards the top. I was like, I need liquidity, and got back in. And so now I'm still up. I'm happy. Let's go. But at the end of the day, seriously, Jake, it has been nothing but a pleasure talking to you. I'm so excited to see what you guys cook up.
Thank you so much. No, I don't know. I rock with this. We'll have to do another one with Joe. I swear to God, we gotta do another one with Joe.
Yeah.
And another one I'm not saying. Do you guys always do these so early in the morning?
Dude,
actually, wait. Let me rephrase that. I sound like a fucking moron. It's not early in the morning. I just the poor preparation. Like, I didn't have my morning shower yet. I sound like shit. But we'll do another one if you guys are down. Like, I bugged that you guys are cool. Just good conversation. It flowed really well. But thank you guys so much.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's been a pleasure. Yes, we do stream. For those of you who are watching for the first time, one, please do us a huge favor, help us grow the channel by hitting that subscribe button down below. Shout us out on Twitter. We love to see it. We do upload these episodes to podcasts right after the episode, so they are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we do stream every Tuesday, Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have been growing a bit. We have been having a lot of interviews, so we may have to cater to a little bit more possible shows being added into the future. But be on standby. Under promise, over deliver, right? But
indeed,
we definitely we love the Solana ecosystem. We love NFTs in general and Web3 and growing it. And love putting people like yourself and the project and what you guys are trying to do to further the ecosystem is nothing short of extraordinary. So I appreciate you guys staying around. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And so, like we always extend to our guests, if you want to do like a 3-month or 6-month checkup or whatever that happens, I'd love to see like post reveal, what happens next, all that good stuff. We can talk about that in our next show, but we'd love to have you back on, Jake, and we can talk about that offline.
Absolutely. W.
W.
Yeah, I'm done.
All right. Well, thank you
Next
guys.
one we gotta do a nighttime show next time.
Okay, that
All right,
sounds
we can
good.
do that, dog.
All right, that sounds good. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Seriously, we do appreciate all of your support. Jake, we appreciate your time. Dor, appreciate you as always,
Thanks,
my man.
appreciate you, dog.
Next time we'll have Joe as well, and we'll
Indeed.
catch you on the next episode of RareFUD Radio. Have a great weekend, everybody.